Hello, Tawana Bhagwat.
Hi, dear.
It is very nice to finally get you on
Yay!
Conversations with Black Women Who Coach.
I am so excited to be here.
I'm very excited to have you. And, I try to be very transparent in these conversations. So I feel it very necessary for people to know who you are. Before I let you say who you are, I will say who you are to me. And to
Love it.
me, you are the woman that saved my life, right? And I have told you many times how important you are to me and how much you changed my life. And there are very few people in life as adults that we get to say changed our lives, and you literally changed mine. So I've been dying to have you on here, and I'm really glad to finally be able to have you on. I mean, people who follow me know that I talk about the fact that I've been coached by Black women, and that one particular Black woman helped me see that I could change my life and live the life that I wanted. And that Black woman is you. And so I always wanted to have you on here so that people could see you in all your magnificence. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for making the time because I know how busy you are. So tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, first, I have to respond to that. So, number one, thank you. I think the world of you, like most powerful Black women who just need to get unleashed. And I was so thankful that you allowed me to partner with you to help you get unleashed. And you are doing exactly what you were born to do and more. So, the feeling is mutual. So a little bit about myself, Tawana Bhagwat. I am the CEO and principal consultant for Organization at its Best. We are a full service HR firm, and we do all types of fun stuff like coaching, DEI, you name it. And I say that as my opening because it is a part of who I am. I left corporate America after 22 years to decide to do things my way. And that's part of me being anchored in who I am, and I'm anchored in being free. I am also a mother of 4 and married to my junior high school sweetheart. So we've celebrated 25 years together.
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
Yes. And so a part of who I am is not just about, doing things my way as an entrepreneur, but I'm a mom and a wife, and I understand what it means to try to balance that. And the biggest thing I would say about who I am is I do all of that unapologetic. And I try to inspire other women of color in particularly, to say we get to do all those things and more because we get to say. Yeah. And if there's anything that I can do to just help us find that person that's been buried under all that stuff, that's me.
And you are very, very good at that because that's what you did for me. What inspired you to be a coach? How'd you decide to do that? Yes. And I've never asked you this question, so I'm very interested. No, I have not. So I'm very interested in hearing your answer to that question.
So to be quite honest, I believe it's always been a part of who I am, but I didn't know it. What I experienced in corporate America was being beat the hell out of myself, and looked for others to help me, save me, guide me, coach me. And they all did it in a way that was safe, in a way that still had me to conform and assimilate and, figure it out. And I often yearned for, if someone could just help me navigate these waters, but still be me and not feel like I was sacrificing self. So as time went on, I rebelled. A good 10 years of my career, I just fought. And I kept saying, I'm not leaving. I don't care. They're going to adjust to me. And I got so much coaching, and it still didn't feel quite right. And then I said, if ever given the opportunity, I'm going to help folks figure it out. And they don't have to leave unless they choose to. And if they did, it's on their terms. And so that's how I entered into coaching. And Not to mention my jobs, right, as an HR started to move into that direction and becoming the executive coach of CEOs and different things like that while being responsible for the HR department. So it was a combination of I saw God guiding me by giving me those experiences and still having me to stand, even though I was beat the hell out of, to be quite honest.
Well, that's
But
what happens in those environments. I think
yeah,
that experience that you have really informed the work that I was lucky enough to do with you, is that we're often told that who we are is not okay and is not
yeah,
enough.
yeah,
It's either too much or it's too little, but it's never enough. And that we need to make all these different changes. And I love
yeah,
the word you used, unapologetic, because you
yeah,
know how I feel about that word. And that you have to be your best self, no matter who you are. You have to be authentic. You have to be unapologetic about who you are. And you have to have freedom. You have to
right,
be free.
yeah,
And if you don't have those three things, are you really being who you are, who you're meant to be? I don't think so. And in the corporate environment, that's the first thing they take from us, or they
absolutely.
try to take from us,
Right,
is our
yeah.
authenticity. And they
Mhm.
want you to apologize all the time. Every time you open your mouth and you state a fact, then they want you to apologize for
Right.
it later. And so you're constantly in this environment. And then you go into coaching a lot of times, and the coach is basically coaching you to conformance, as you said, and
Yep.
telling you all the things that you need to change to fit. And one of the most refreshing things about working with you is that you never asked me to do that.
Nope.
And you never told me that it was a necessity for me to be successful, that I needed to change myself. It was more of a question of how you respond to the environment that you are in as you,
That's
as
right.
yourself, right? And most people don't have that opportunity in a coaching
Yeah.
situation, but I want them to have it, which is why I want them to
And
know
I think
what I
that's
do.
such an important part to lift here, because when you're selecting a coach, even though the company has hired you as a coach, they may be paying. You have an agreement with your client,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the individual that you're coaching. And you get to say what that is. What will our agreement be? And it's up to the coach to say, hey, here's what I agreed to with your leader. And that was one of the things that we did. I said, hey, your leader is expecting this.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure you understand that. And then let's talk through where that makes sense for our agreement. And then we plot the path forward.
Yeah,
And that is super important. And that to
very
me,
important.
what keeps me in integrity
Yeah,
with understanding who's paying the bill and the client and what I'm trying to do to help support you to shift to whatever it is that makes sense for you. And then we could determine that that's no longer a benefit for
right.
you and the company to be together. And that's okay too.
And that's okay too. And I think people, I think especially not people, but I think Black people, and especially Black women, have a lot of distrust of the coaching process because of how coaching has been used against them. And
Yeah.
so I think it very important for coaches, good coaches, in a corporate environment, to have those kinds of conversations at the very first meeting about expectations, about, how do you keep the line? Because yes, most of the time, if you're smart and you're lucky, your employer should be paying for the coaching. But that doesn't mean that it is not intended to benefit you. That's the whole point. And so you have to figure out, in spite of that, how best to leverage this benefit that you have to help you in your, not just your career development, but your personal development as well. But key to the whole process to me was having a woman that was Black. And that's, I mean, I'm very blunt about that fact. I do not feel that I would be sitting in my home office in my lovely rooftop in Mexico if I had not worked with you. And I tell people that all the time. And I felt that the fact that you were a Black woman was very critical to that, because there were things that you understood that other people did not. Can you tell me a little bit about why you think having a Black woman as a coach matters, and what the value is? Because to me, it's not a question anymore of whether it matters. It's a question of, why do you think it matters?
Right. I think it's critical because one, we can identify, we understand where we come from, right? We get the experiences that you've had, that I've had, and then we talk through how we've changed those to wins and to truly navigate. I think the other thing that's most important is culturally, there should be a connection.
Right.
And when you are able to distinguish that I'm in a relationship called coaching with another sister of mine that I want to benefit and be successful, I don't have another agenda, right? Two, I would say. One is I want you to be successful, but at the root of that, I want you to get whatever it is you need so that you can do what you desire to do. And most times we don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Right.
And a good coach is going to get you to try to figure that out. Because I think most of us, until someone asks you, you don't even really think about it. You're out here and you're existing. And I one of the things I loved, well, also hated about working with you was that, and I tell people this all the time, was that you let me get away with nothing. Mm-hmm. Right. And I'm very type A. I have another coach, she says that about me as well. And neither one of you let me get away with nothing, but you especially let me get away with nothing in terms of answering these critical questions that you have to be able to answer for yourself about yourself, right? Yeah. In order to understand what it is that it is that you need. And so for me, when you're looking for a coach, accountability to me is critical, that you need to be looking for someone who is going to hold you accountable, not someone that's just going to make you feel good, but someone that might actually not make you feel so good sometimes because they're going to ask you questions that are hard. So one of the things that I want to do with the directory, the Black Women Coach Directory, is to help people learn more about what the coaching process should be and how to pick a coach and how to understand the difference between, for example, what a coach should be doing versus what a therapist should be doing, and some of these things that people don't necessarily know. My first article for the directory is literally going to be about how to pick the right coach. So in your opinion, what qualities would you say someone should look for when they're looking for a coach? What are the things that you think is important?
Outside of having someone that you feel can identify or understand your experiences, I think the second thing you said is a true accountability partner. And I feel like that's a buzzword that we use, but it's someone that will guide you through the process of taking on yourself. Which is one of the hardest things for any of us, including coaches. The coaches need coaches. Let me just be clear about that.
And the best coaches have coaches.
Right.
You always find out. The best coaches have coaches.
Absolutely. And I think the third thing is what you said about those critical questions, right? So who do you need to be? Not what do you need to do? Right? We constantly want to get to, okay, just give me a checklist. Just listen, you all are smart and brilliant. I don't need to come in and teach you how to write an action plan or walk you through it. Who do you need to be? Who needs to show up? What's the characteristic of that person? Where is she? She's there. She's buried under all the stuff that we've had to gone through. And so is that coach willing to take you there and also shore you up that when it feels uncomfortable and vulnerable and too exposed, that they know you got them? Your client needs to know, I got you. When we go to that space that's scary and uncomfortable, I got you. I'm going to guide you there and also bring you back. And in bringing you back, you're more whole than you were when you went there. Those are critical things for me.
Those are critical things. And what would you say you would say, what is the kind of person you would say should hire you as their coach?
I would say someone that's tired. Tired of being tired.
Yeah.
Right? The other characteristic that I think about that I match very well with is the person that don't know. Right? But is willing, seeking, open. That's all. I just need you to be willing, seeking, and open. But I normally meet my A types that knows every damn thing. And most importantly, can articulate. Oh my gosh, I love to talk to Black women that's so brilliant that they can articulate what their problem is. And after they get finished telling me, I said, And so why you stuck?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's another story. Oh, okay. Well,
Well,
that's the
tell me
story
that
I want to
story.
talk about. Right. That's the story
I
I
remember
want to talk about.
that.
Right. I want to talk about that story. So I love brilliant, articulate Black women. They are my ideal client.
So we were just talking earlier about how busy you are.
Mm.
And I would love for you to tell us a little bit about like what you're up to right now. What are you doing? I mean, I know you as a great executive coach, as well as a DEI expert, a brilliant DEI coach and expert. But what are you up to? What do you want people to know that you're doing right now?
Yeah. So thank you for asking. It's so many things. I would say I'm thankful that I'm overwhelmed with opportunity. Yay. So
Yes,
all praises.
high quality problem, high quality
Yes,
problem.
absolutely. And I will tell you that my business is a full service HR end to end. But the other things that we do is very much specifically focused on executive coaching and DEI. We also do all types of training and facilitation. And the big project that I've been working on is one launching August 9th, my DEI boot camp. We had a soft launch, but I now have a level 1 and a level 2. It's specifically about racial equity. DEI online, do it yourself. It's 2 levels to it. And we hit everything. But what's really cool about it is I've now been able to offer 12 professional development credits with it.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so I'm super excited about that. So not only do you get a certification of completion, but you also get professional development credits. So that's one thing that's coming up and launching. And it is, when I tell you it's amazing, you will leave there and be a DEI ambassador, right? You will be able to have those difficult conversations with your leaders and others and help them navigate. Does that make you a DEI expert? No, but you'll have some tools in your toolkit that when people say, well, how do I do this? Well, why is this the case? You'll have background and tools. So I'm very excited about that. Outside of that, I would say 75% of my business has shifted to doing very much DEI work in the nonprofit sector. And so I'm really excited about that because the nonprofit sector suffer from an identity crisis.
Oh
They do
well,
good things.
you know I know. You know I know. You know that I
Don't
know
get you started.
about that. And that not only do they suffer from that, but a lot of the people that work in the nonprofit sector consider themselves to be progressive and liberal,
Right.
which I think, as Dr. King talked about in his letters to Birmingham from Birmingham jail, are some of the most problematic to me people.
Yep.
White folks who believe themselves to be
Yep.
progressive and liberal are some of the most racist people
Yep.
I have ever had to interact with, right?
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how well-meaning you are and what your intentions are. It matters how those things impact people of color and other marginalized communities. And so I think what you're doing in that specific arena is critical to getting them to walk the walk, not just talk, because lots of talk in that environment. And it has a very, very deleterious effect on people of color because you're being gaslit 24 hours a day because they're telling you one thing, they're saying one thing, but in your day-to-day experience, it's not that. And then they tell you that the problem is you, right? So I think it's really exciting that you are doing this work in that space because it really, really needs this work in that space. And it's a group that doesn't necessarily realize until recently that it needed this work. But it
and
really,
I call
really
them do-gooders, right? They're do-gooders all around the world. They're polite. They're helping third world countries, all this great stuff. And then
or poor people in America, which is the other, or the poor,
absolutely.
Right? But do you see those people as your equals, though? No, you don't.
Not at all. No, and you go into the organizations, and to be quite honest, it stinks, right?
Well, you don't have to tell me.
They don't have a clue. And I'm thankful to, our partners.
You don't have to tell me. That is from whence I escaped. And I spent 20 plus years in that environment. So I know it very, very, very well. And it's just, and I think that most people in that environment, they do mean well. And I never say that they don't, but it doesn't matter. And that's what they have to understand. It doesn't matter that you mean well.
Impact
It matters what you do to other people. It matters how you think at a very molecular level about people that are different from you. And sometimes you don't realize it until you get to work with a Tawana Bhagwat. All the issues that you actually have that you didn't realize that you have. Because in your intention and your meaning is good. You mean to be good. It's like a 3-year-old. You meant to be good, but you still did the other thing that you shouldn't do. And how do you understand, what that is and why it is, so that you and admit, because that's the thing I find people have difficulty admitting. You know what I say all the time, white people are more afraid to be called racist than they are to do racist things.
Yeah.
And I think you have to focus more on not doing racist things and less on being worried about being called racist. And so part of this is helping people to get from that place to the other place, which is what I've seen you do. And so I know how effective what you do, what you do is. So I really would encourage people, especially institutionally wise, as well as individually, that if they really want to do the work, because that's what it comes down to.
Absolutely.
If you really want to do the work, then you've got to hire someone who's going to, require that you do the work.
Right.
Not just let you sit and feel good about yourself, but actually help you do the work.
And if I build on that, the way I coach is how I do that work. I'm going to force the organization, starting with the leaders, to take on themselves. So people call me up and they're like, can you just give us a training? Sure, but that ain't going to stick. So if you're looking for a check the box, I'm not the partner for you. And I tell them that because I'm interested in seeing a shift. I'm interested in us taking advantage of the time that we're in today, where there's a level of awareness and people want to, quote unquote, do the right thing. Well, I'm that partner that's going to have you to do the right thing. So we move from want to doing, but it's done in a way that it's methodical and the approach is sustainable. So if people are just looking for a check mark, I'm not that girl. And I'm okay with saying that.
And I just wish that more people that were working in the DEI space were willing to do that. I've been lucky enough in these conversations to talk to several DEI coaches now. And that's the thing that comes up a lot, is that too many people are just willing to engage in these check the box exercises. And especially for those of us who are Black people, I think it's incredibly harmful to allow an institution to use you in that way. You have to go in there with the intention to shake things up and to make people really look at themselves and what they're doing and change and make the shift that you always talk about. And if they're not prepared to do that, what is the point in the first place? What's the point of the exercise at all? Why allow them to just use you to be able to go to their board and say, we did a training or we did a this and we did a that, but it doesn't really have any long-term impact and changes nothing for the people in the organization who actually need it to change. And that's not the white people. White people will be okay regardless. They've been okay, they're going to be okay. It's a question of what is going to happen to everyone else. So my last question to you is, what is one of the important things you've learned about yourself through coaching others?
Good question. Actually, two things came to mind, but if I go to the first one, is I oftentimes meet us with the S on our chest, right? We're the superhero. And I personally did some work around retiring my cape, but I realized that I still kept my S. So as I've been coaching others, I've been okay with being exposed, being vulnerable more, because the S is not what it's all cracked up to be. And I found when I've been my most vulnerable self, even with my clients, I've seen them gain a ton. So it's almost like the gift that keeps on giving. As much as I'm being vulnerable and pouring out and they're returning it back to me, I go, I got to think about this shit for myself. And it's been wonderful. So with every client, I grow. And I'm so open to that. So I don't walk into my partnerships as an expert. They're just that to me. Those relationships are partnerships. I'm always going, what am I going to learn new out of this engagement? And that keeps me humble to know that it is always room. So I'm a student of this work as well. And I love it.
You know how I feel about you.
Mhm.
Thank you very much for participating in this conversation. You are someone that I admire a great deal and that I have a lot of love and admiration for and a lot of gratitude. So thank you for being a part of my journey. Thank you for being in this conversation, and thank you for everything.
Thank you for partnering with me.